Turkish President Erdogan calls the killing of Hamas terrorists a genocide. He calls upon Muslims around the world to unite against Israel, and there's a very good indication that he would like himself to become the caliph. I'm going to explain all of that and much more on today's program. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Welcome to today's program, friend. Later on in the broadcast, we're going to discuss the problem that America has right now with Turkey. And make no bones about it, it's a problem. Turkey is in NATO. So we're going to look at that and the difficulties that are arising and how bad it could really get. But first, what I would like to do is give you some historic background focusing on Muhammad and Hamas. Now, most of you know that Muhammad is the founder of Islam. Islam means submission or surrender. Allah is the Arabic word for God. Muhammad believed that Abraham was a prophet, Moses was a prophet, etc., and that Jesus was a prophet, but he denied the divinity of Jesus Christ. He believed that Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary, but not that he was the Son of God. It was just a miraculous birth. So, in the early days of his preaching, he was peaceful. When he moved to Medina, he became violent. And that history is well established, and we're not going to focus on that today. But what I want to focus on is what happened between him and the Jews and how his rage against the Jews fueled anti-Semitism in Islam from the dawn of Islam to the very present. And according to Islamic orthodoxy, it cannot go away. I repeat, according to Islamic orthodoxy, anti-Semitism cannot go away. Now, what I'm about to play for you are clips from our upcoming movie, Muhammad in His Own Words, or our series, What Would Muhammad Do? And these quotes come from canonical Islamic sources. Those are highfalutin words, which mean that they're true according to Islamic belief, okay? You cannot quarrel with these words. Either they're from the Quran or they're from certain hadith collections that are considered unreproachable, that they are unimpeachable, that they are true. So here's for you, in Muhammad's own words, the fountain of anti-Semitism.
The apostles said,
"Kill any Jew that falls into your power." The last hour would not come unless the Muslims will fight against the Jews, and the Muslims would kill them until the Jews would hide themselves behind a stone or tree, and the stone or a tree would say, "Muslim, or the servant of Allah, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him."
There you have it. Now, here's the background. When Muhammad went to Medina, there were large tribes or clans of Jews living there, thousands of Jews. And they were established, they were wealthy, they had been there for generations. And he thought that he was going to waltz into Medina and say to them, "I'm your prophet in the line of Moses and in the line of Noah," and etc. And they laughed at him, literally laughed him to scorn. And it enraged him. And when he beat the Meccans in a fight, in a battle at the Battle of Badr, he then turned to the Jews and said, "Look, beware, lest what happened to the Meccans at Badr happen to you. I'm a prophet, and you're supposed to follow me." They laughed. They said, "Hey, you took advantage of a victory in a desert. Don't think that that means that you're a prophet. If you fight us, you're going to understand that we're real men." Well, that set the wheels in motion for Muhammad to expel them, for him to order that people kill any Jew. He said it, kill any Jew that falls under your power. So it opened the door for murders. And then Muhammad kept setting up scenarios in which the Jews were guilty, and he was able to drive them out wholesale, take their homes, take their chattel goods that they couldn't carry with them, take their swords. And ultimately, the final major Jewish tribe of Medina was the Banu Qurayza. And he just literally killed all of their men. Any male who reached puberty, he killed them all. Took their women and children as slaves, sex slaves, and took all of their chattel property and their real estate. That's the foundation of anti-Semitism in Islam. When I come back from this break, I'm going to show to you quotes from the Hamas charter. All right, Hamas is a terrorist organization who right now politically is also in charge of the Palestinian Authority. And you're going to see in their charter that they're quoting Muhammad. And Hamas has said that Israel does not have any right to exist and they intend to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. So stay put. You're going to want to see this. Don't go away. Today, many so-called Christian intellectuals believe that the God of evolution used billions of years of death and destruction to evolve the bodies of the first human beings. Then, they simply declare the theory of evolution as fact to justify their unproven scientific fallacies. By the grace of God, more and more Catholics are rejecting this modern-day mythology in favor of the traditional doctrine of creation, as recorded by the Bible and believed and taught by all the fathers and doctors of the church. To find out how sound theology and natural science confirm the sacred history of Genesis, visit the Colby Center for the Study of Creation and be sure to check out our bookstore, which has titles like I Have Spoken to You from Heaven, A Catholic Defense of Creation in 6 Days, and A Catholic Assessment of Evolutionary Theory. That's the Colby Center for the Study of Creation. Welcome back, friend. For those of you who don't know, I have a master's degree in diplomacy with a concentration in international terrorism from Norwich University, which is a very old and prestigious military school, one of the oldest military schools in the country. So I spent thousands of hours studying Islamic terrorism, Islam, the life of Muhammad. And what I saw is that there's a narrative, an arc of a story in Muhammad's life, and that Muslim terrorists seek to emulate and imitate the arc of that story. And they quote Muhammad constantly. So you heard the quote in the last segment. And we're going to play for you 3 clips of our series, What Would Muhammad Do?, in which we quote the Hamas charter. So the words that you're about to hear are from the Hamas charter, and listen how they echo or directly quote the words of Muhammad himself. And that's why you have to understand, anti-Semitism is inherent in Islam. Here's the first quote.
Our struggle against the Jews is very great and very serious. Hamas is but one squadron that should be supported by more and more squadrons from the vast Arab and Islamic world until the enemy, Israel, is vanquished and Allah's victory is realized.
There you see it. They're committed to this struggle, and they're asking Muslims from all over the world to help them in this struggle to vanquish Israel. They literally declare that Israel does not have the right to exist. Why? Because of the words of Muhammad. Because Muhammad killed or drove out of all of Saudi Arabia every Jew. Now, there are people that say, well, but there are times in history where the Jews and the Muslims lived peacefully. That's because Muhammad, in one of his calmer moments, said, except for Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula, it's forbidden to have Jews living there practicing Judaism or Christians practicing Christianity. It's forbidden. No synagogues, no churches. But in other places in the world, Muhammad said, if they'll come under your protection, if they'll pay the dhimmi tax, then they can privately practice their religion. So when you look at countries in the Middle East where Jews lived in relative peace, they were always a persecuted minority. And they are to this day, as are Christians in those countries. They don't have the same rights as Muslims. It's just the way it is, because of what Muhammad said, that they can pay the tax, come under your protection. It's like a mafia slogan. You need protection, I'm here to help you. Pay this money to me and then we won't kill you. All right, Here's the next quote from them, and see if you can recognize who they're quoting.
Allah is its target. The Prophet is its model. The Quran its constitution. Jihad is its path. And death for the sake of Allah is the loftiest of its wishes.
For those of you who don't know, that is a quote almost verbatim out of the founding documents of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization. So that line, death in the cause of Allah is the loftiest of our wishes, that was written by Hassan al-Banna. Hassan al-Banna was the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood, and Hassan al-Banna was a devout Muslim who wanted to restore the caliphate. We're going to come back to that in the next segment. But this, now you begin to see how interwoven these things are. And those words that are in the Hamas Charter are echoing various things that Muhammad said throughout his life. Now here comes one from the Hamas Charter that is a direct quote from Muhammad. It's the, you know what, go ahead, play it.
The day of judgment, the last hour, will not come about until Muslims fight the Jews, killing the Jews, when the Jew will hide behind stones and trees. The stones and trees will say, O Muslims, O Abdullah, there is a Jew behind me. Come and kill him.
So there you go. That's a quote, a variation of the quote that we played in the first segment. Muhammad saying, the end will not come, the last hour will not come until the Muslims fight against the Jews and kill the Jews. And a rock and a tree will say, hey, there's a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him. They're just quoting Muhammad. So people who want to say that Islam is a religion of peace are either totally uneducated and therefore a danger, because this information is out there. It's not hard to find this information. That makes them willfully blind. And that makes them an apologist for Islam, a liar for Islam. That's what President Obama was, a liar, a self-conscious liar for Islam, because he knew this stuff. And he brushed over it, hid it. So the reason there's not going to be peace between Israel and devout Muslims is because devout Muslims are following the words of Muhammad. And Muhammad said, the end won't come until Muslims kill the Jews. That's it, people. It's just that simple. And it's never going to go away until the sword of Islam is broken. Because Israel does have a right to exist. Islam does not have a right to purge the Jews from Israel or to kill the Jews. They don't have a right to do that. I've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about President Erdogan from Turkey and the problem that we're getting, and it is in part around the concept and the office of the Caliph. Khalifa. Don't go away. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Muhammad. We are going to look at Muhammad's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Muhammad's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Muhammad and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. Welcome back to the program, friend. There are a lot of people who want to say that Islam springs from a spiritual darkness that is actually connected to forces that are diabolical. That may or may not be true, but one thing is certain. Islam in form is a revival of the Roman world, and in substance is a Catholic heresy. Let me explain. In the Roman world and in the Greco world, the Grecian world before that, the religions of the state were the official religions, and you had to believe them. You had to practice them. You had to burn incense to Caesar. If you did not, you were considered an enemy, and you were hunted down, sometimes imprisoned, sometimes tortured, sometimes sent into exile, oftentimes killed, property confiscated, etc. That's exactly, and then when Christianity prevailed over the Roman Empire and those kind of laws were done away with, the Greco-Roman gods disappeared almost overnight. We don't fear the Greek and Roman gods anymore. We don't pay homage to them. We don't burn incense to Caesar. We name our dog Caesar. So along comes Islam. Islam takes the form of the Greco-Roman states where they require obedience to Islamic law. In Sharia law, it says that if you are an Arab, you are required to believe in Islam and practice it, or you're killed. That's it. That's the form, that's the way they used to play the game in Rome, with the pagan Roman Empire. So that is the structure that emerged out of Islam. In content, it's a Catholic heresy with a lot of mimicry going on. The Catholic Church has canons, has the catechism. Well, the Muslim world has canonical literature, and it has Sharia law, or Sharia law. The Catholic world has a pope and the continuity of the successor of Peter, the apostle. And so the Petrine chair, or the chair of St. Peter, whatever word you want to use, that chair holds a successor. And what do Muslims have? They have the Khalifa. And guess what that word means? Successor. So you cannot picture Roman Catholicism without a pope. You just can't. Those of you who are Catholic understand there's always going to be a pope. There's a little vacancy when he dies or resigns, then another one is elected. Well, from the dawn of Islam, the death of Muhammad, up to 1924, there was always a successor, a caliph, a khalifa. The office was called the caliphate. The office of the Roman pontiff is called the papacy. The office of the Muslim caliph was called the caliphate. The caliphate was abolished in 1924 by Kemal Ataturk, who was the leader of Turkey at that time. Turkey sided, or rather the Ottoman Empire sided with Germany in World War I. They were defeated, and the Ottoman Empire, which was the last vestiges of the Muslim world, the Ummah, the Muslim Empire, 1,400 or 1,300-year-old empire at that time, was carved up. The victorious powers just carved it up. And then it wasn't long after that that Ataturk said, we're done with the caliphate. We're done with this. Well, that's what gave birth to the Muslim Brotherhood. That's what gave birth to modern-day Islamic terrorism. Their primary goal is to restore the caliph, to restore the caliphate, to get another successor. If a Roman Catholic was told, hey, they've abolished the papacy, they'd say, are you out of your mind? And if a devout Muslim was told, hey, they've abolished the caliphate, they would say, are you out of your mind? So Erdogan, the president of Turkey, remember, Constantinople was the seat of the caliphate. And at the end of World War I, and the caliphate was ultimately abolished, the last place where the caliph resided and reigned from was what we call modern Turkey. So Erdogan, the president of Turkey, is sending out through his emissaries the notion that he should become the next caliph. Forget Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the guy who's the head of ISIS. It's Erdogan. That's what he's gunning for through his proxies, literally all over the world. And friend, you better believe that that's a huge problem for free countries and for NATO, because Turkey is in NATO. I'll be right back. We're going to stay on this. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from what would Muhammad do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Best-selling author Dr. Bill Warner said, "What Would Muhammad Do" is the best movie series, TV production on the life of Muhammad and Islamic terrorism that has ever been produced. Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700, or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We look at the Stamp Act, the Boston Tea Party, the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, women's voting rights, the civil rights movement. All of them have this in common: courage, sacrifice, dedication, and in-your-face tactics and rhetoric. That's one of the reasons that we've been losing the culture wars the last 40 years, is because the bad guys are using these tactics and we aren't. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700. At the end of World War II, the European nations were exhausted, physically, emotionally, and economically, and militarily. America had not had its borders invaded. We had a lot of casualties, but we also had at that point a humming economic engine, whereas much of Europe was decimated. The dollar became the currency of the world, and America became the guarantor of peace for Europe. But rather than just, have it be like the American overlords, they created the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, commonly known as NATO. They had to come up with a name that incorporated America, because Europe is over here and America is over here, well, vice versa on your side. And, well, let's see, we got to have America involved in this club, so we'll call it the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was created to be a stronghold against Russia, against the communists, against the Soviet Union. Turkey was included in that. Turkey is a part of NATO. Now, at the time, Turkey had done a fairly significant job of breaking the back of Islamic devotion and an Islamic state with Sharia law. They were trying, because of Ataturk, they were trying to become a more secular state. Well, Islam is not bent towards secularism and living peacefully with its neighbors. It's bent towards jihad and the conquest of the world, because that's what Muhammad said. All right, we'll go into that more in future shows. That's what Muhammad said. So Erdogan is now floating this idea that he wants to be the caliph. Well, a caliph by definition is hostile to the nations and the governments and the freedoms of Europe and America. By definition, the caliph is called upon to implement Sharia law. Sharia law, by definition, wants to enslave or rule the earth. So we've got a problem, friend. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know how many days are numbered for Turkey to be in NATO. I don't know what's going to happen. But with Turkey running its mouth saying that America is now the problem, America is the backbone of NATO. Do you get this? And the Turks want to kill the Kurds that are in North Syria. Probably the only reason they haven't done it is because American troops are protecting the Kurds. I've got to go. If you want to learn more about Muhammad, I encourage you to go to our website, randallterry.com, and give a gift of any size. And we will send you a review copy of our new movie coming out this summer called Muhammad in His Own Words. It's 90 minutes. You'll get more data out of that than anything that you've ever seen on History Channel or whatever. Go to randallterry.com, make a contribution of any size, and we'll send you your own review copy of Muhammad in His Own Words. God bless you. you.